say that their attorney will tell you that. And now we also look right in this same project that not if, when this thing comes down to a lawsuit, and eventually it is going to happen, you're going to be able to take an attorney that is going to be able to see that right in these little areas, you have got 2 of your water board members that are benefiting heavily from everything that is being done on this. Another water board member who is further down who is benefiting from this. Is the question of a water board issue the thing that we need to look at here, or do we need to look at some personal gain that is going on in the water board with the decisions?
I guess that's their call, and that they have to justify why they do what they do. There again, I'm not passing the buck, but you guys on the commission here help me out. I don't know.
Everyone on the water board is appointed. They're not elected. They have to answer to the commissioners.
They do. And they have in the past.
So Dale, answer this question.
So,
do you have any proof that we've upsized the culverts? Any proof? Or
Yes.
added culverts?
Yes, there
Other
is
than-
added
other than-
culverts.
Highway 52.
3 culverts at Highway 52.
But where do you get 3?
There's one big one, there's 2 smaller ones. I was out there this morning. I looked at them.
Okay, stop Dale. We did the hydrology study. Our engineer did it. We were going to put a 36-inch pipe in there because the one 72-inch pipe is like 3 or 3.5 feet off the bottom of the ditch. So all these
And they are
guys,
still
wait a minute,
They
wait a
are
minute,
pretty
wait,
different.
wait.
wait a minute,
I
Dale.
agree with you. They are at different levels, Larry.
Okay,
I agree with
now
you.
listen to the rest of the story. It's at a different level. So all the water, once it got down to that 3.5 foot level, had to go through a little 36-inch pipe. Now, is that fair for the 42,000 some acres that drain through there? Is that fair for all those guys that pay for that? You got to wait for that. It was never supposed to have been like that.
Okay, so is it fair for them to pay? So now, is it fair for me to take the 42,000 acres of water and have my land inundated? Is it fair for Manfred Township, Hamburg Township, Bremen Township to have roads washed out that they have to repair from this 42,000 acres?
I don't think you can prove that.
No.
I think
Not
it
at all.
can
Dale, you can't.
be.
When, Dale? In 1993?
93.
When the dam broke down by Hertzfield?
No, this thing was 3 times that this has been out. 93 it was out. 2009 it was out.
Okay.
2011
okay.
it was out.
On your dad's land, when it goes into the river, your dad's land, it's not your land, it's your dad's land.
It's Dad's, yes.
Okay, and your dad has wanted us to do some work in here for
And
that.
I'm here on Manfred Township.
Okay,
So,
okay.
and I do own land in
Yeah,
the drain
and you're
in
getting
St.
benefit from it too.
Yeah, it's going through mine. And
Yeah.
I've also got,
And now by
there's
all the
oil
improvements
piles.
that we've done, now you got a
Yeah.
pasture that's usable instead of
I
sitting
got a
full of water.
pasture that is 295 acres that is over 100 acres of cattails because of the spill piles along the sides that don't let the water back in when you clean out.
I have a question. When County Drain 1 was put in,
Mhm.
what was the amount of water that was going to go through it? The reason I ask this question is I know there's been draining along the way, probably some of that you don't even know about. Okay, if you have a 45 passenger bus and you put 300 people on it, it ain't going to work. So what I'm saying is, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with County 1, but there's a lot more water coming through it than what was originally designed. So how can you say that there's not a problem? This is my question, because it was put in a long time ago. And so now all of a sudden, you're adding a lot of water to it. Where does that come out in the wash? That's what I'd like
My
to know.
ground is where it sits.
Huh?
It sits on my ground is where it sits.
And it
I
sits
know
on my
exactly where a
ground,
lot
too.
of it sits, but
sits
what
on
I'm
my
saying
ground.
is it's been added to.
And I'm not gonna deny that, and there's,
Okay.
who knows
So
how much has been added? We have
Okay.
no idea. But we also gotta think about, when this was put in, it was at 85, 87, whatever. We never used to have the precip that we used to do now. And when the problem comes is when we get 25, 30 inches of rain in a season. And the water's been, slowly trickling out of there. But anyway, then the railroad comes along and they slap in 2 48-inch pipes. We had nothing to do with that.
No,
You know
you
why
didn't.
they did? They didn't want their railroad to wash out.
Well, that's their business.
Right.
But we have not increased the amount of flow in
Right.
that thing at all.
And that's what Dale's trying to explain, that the more water that comes through there, the more down the line. And I was out there the other day and I saw which bridges are gonna go next. It's not that hard to figure out. First of all, I'm not on anybody's side here, okay? That is the last thing I want to be said. I'm not on anybody's side. I'm trying to make sense of this, okay?
We were permitted a certain amount of water to discharge. The railroad took that permitted location away from us. Nothing we can do about that.
So at that point, shouldn't there have been some public meetings to discuss this with townships, with landowners? It would have been a courtesy thing, I would think.
But Dale, we are working on that. And you know that because I personally invited you to a meeting a little over a year ago to talk about this stuff.
We did discuss, you and I had a phone conversation here on Thursday. I got it written down. I talked with you at 7:54 p.m. on a Thursday for 4 minutes and 18 seconds on going through the road there. And I
you knew
asked
about that too.
And I asked you for a scope of the project for the township of what was going to be done. We've got a meeting on Tuesday, you guys need to come to it. For our townships to go to a meeting like that is a special meeting, it takes a 10-day notice. From Thursday to Tuesday is not 10 days for our township.
You don't have to notice a meeting for 10 days, all it has to do is...
Our township tells us 10-day notice on a special meeting when we've got 3 officers meeting on something like that. And I sit through plenty at the state conventions from the state that comes in, and they tell us the meetings on this stuff.
I'm not going to sit here and argue with you, Dale, about the laws.
Dale, what would you like us to do?
There is nothing, it's been opened up. The floodgate is open. I would like some order and some fairness put on the Wells County Waterboard.
Basically, you want me off the board, correct? Say what you mean.
I have a formal request that I am submitting to the Wells County Commissioners for the removal of Larry Stifton off of the Wells County Water Board.
And that's what you want. You don't think the rest of the board has a brain and can think?
I know they do,
So
but
you
at some
think I
point,
run the board?
at some point, stuff has to start changing on this board, and it is not. It's only growing in what it's causing problems with.
Well, point well taken, and my input on this is, first off, thanks Dale for coming in. We appreciate it. Anytime anybody within the county has a complaint or concern, that's the way the political process works, in that it's fine for you to come in and, stress your frustrations and grievances. I'd like to think, though, now this is a political answer, that, at the end of the day, the water board, they don't get big money for this. It's a thankless job. And within the big picture, they try to do the best they can for around the parameters in which they have to work with. Okay, they're good people who, have to make some very hard decisions. So, anybody else have anything you want to add?
Somebody had their hand up in the back, I don't know if you want. Mike, you had
Well,
your hand up.
I just had questions about a St. Anna map because there's not a one of these culverts that's upsized.
No,
There's
yours
culverts
have
on
not
here
been
that haven't
upsized.
been replaced.
I've got the map that I gave him on St. Anna.
Yeah.
There is nothing listed as being upsized.
No.
It just
And this
shows
is the
where the
township
culverts are
that
at
holds
and what
most of your
roads.
water. I've been on the board and one year we held water for 11 months in our township.
And we have held water in our township too on these, yes.
You know, and here's the thing, and I'll agree with Larry in that we've had some pretty significant rain
Yeah.
events and snow events. You mentioned 9 and 11
And
of
there's
2000.
nothing upsized
That was
last year.
record snowfall, record runoff. That's why some of these lakes now have fish in them that used to be dry. When you deal with that quantity of water, bad stuff's gonna happen. So I would encourage you, have you ever met and gone before the water board?
I've been to their meetings in the past.
Well, I would appreciate, get on the agenda, deal with and talk to maybe their attorney can explain this better and that.
And he actually has, he sent them a letter in May of 18. Both him and his dad received a letter
Yes, we did.
explaining all the rules and regulations. If Dale wants to petition the water board to have that drain reconstructed, he has that right. Also, with that right comes, if that, because it all has to go to a vote by the landowners. So all the landowners, if over 50%, are going to have to agree to this. Okay? Just the vote alone is going to be 40 to 50,000. Plus the engineering is probably going to be 40, 50,000, maybe more. And
That isn't my problem.
it is your problem. If you
No.
petition them to do that, Century Code says that you will pay for that. You, the petitioners, anybody who puts their name on that paper will pay for it. Do you want to do that, Dale? Be my guest, and we'll do the process.
So I should just keep sitting here and letting you guys pour this water right at a guy, wrecking infrastructure. Like I
Okay,
said,
you
I'm
go
in
make a
full
list.
agreement that Wells County Drain 1 works, and it works good. I'm not in agreement with the timeline that you guys seem to think this water has to be pushed
The
through.
water isn't going to go in any faster because
Yes,
it's
the water's
regulated by the
going to.
pipes that are a mile south of the highway. They're the same.
All right. Points all well taken. Dale, I would encourage you to get on the agenda at a water board meeting and go from there. And we'll take your request under advisement. Okay. Anybody else? You guys pretty quiet here. Anything to say? Brian, Boone?
I would say,
I mean, the water all goes into the James, and it comes past my place down there, and it is what it is. And they're replacing bridges right along, and they're gonna take one out and put a Texas crossing in. I mean, there's more water coming, we know that.
1 mile south of Highway 52 where these new pipes have gone, a new pipe has gone underneath the highway and new pipes underneath the railroad, and then the 2 new pipes that were put in just in the past week. 1 mile south of there were 3 36-inch pipe that were very, very damaged. They were terrible. And they were replaced 2 or 3 years ago, 22 or 21, with 3 36-inch pipe. So those 3 36-inch pipe only allow so much water to go through anyway, because those pipe were replaced in the last 2 or 3 years with the exact same pipe that were there. The reason I know that is because I ordered the pipe.
And you know what? There's probably more water going through there now than before because the other ones were damaged.
Exactly.
There's
There's going to be an
So
increase
there's
of
gonna
flow
be- but
when the other
that's part of
pipes
the
are
rules.
damaged, but they
One
weren't.
was caved in already.
But the pipe were
Correct.
not increased in size. They were
Correct.
they were replaced
Correct.
to what was there.
That's on that high grade.
there's two pipes that's in the big draw. Were those pipes, have they always been in, or when were they put in?
What draw you
Well,
talking
yeah,
about?
that was
South,
my.
your new fail-safe site.
Were those always in there, or they just got put in lately? I'm just curious. I'm just,
What
draw you talking
What draw?
Wait, yeah.
The St. Anna Manfred Township line, a mile south of Highway 52.
Is that what you're talking about, Brian?
In that high grade, right?
Yes,
It's a
By
deep
off
ditch.
to the northeast of Marvin, where Marvin used to
yes,
live.
that's
It's a
correct.
deep ditch with two
Marvin.
culverts in the bottom. Was that always in there? Has that been in there forever?
He's talking the section line.
You gotta.
Section.
This is the one that Bert was just talking about.
The
It's always been
section,
there.
Yeah.
they've always been
They've
there.
always been there, there's 2 or 3.
There's three
There's three.
36-inch
There's
pipes.
three
The one
36
I
inch
saw
pipes.
was two, right, Dale? The one
Yeah,
you
we
told-
seen two.
Well, then you're not in the same place.
There, it's on the section line, it's on the section line that they drove down for this Highway 52 project, where they, out in that field. It's almost straight to the north of
18th
Marvin Koenig's
And those
farmyard.
were just redone or whatever.
In the last 2 or 3
20
years.
20,
Yeah.
fall
It's been
of,
about
summer
3
of
years.
20.
3, I think,
One or
yeah.
two.
Did they get washed out?
They were just rusted out
They
to
were not-
caved in.
Those were never washed out.
They caved in.
They caved in. You couldn't, you didn't feel safe driving across them with a pickup. They were swirled around, washed out, they were caved, they were in terrible shape. There was
And
nothing
that's,
left.
that, all the water goes through those two culverts heading to the highway,
Three.
correct?
There's 3 there.
Three.
Three there?
Three
Okay.
36-inch pipe.
Okay. My question is this. If that's the one, if everything goes through there to the highway, is there any way that you could gate that to slow this thing down a little bit? Would that be a fair thing to say?
We're working on it.
Because from there, everything goes to the highway.
Yep.
So
But
if
then
you
but
could,
then what about the guy in back of that? What
Yeah.
about our roads?
what about the road that water he's getting? You don't care about that.
I do care about that, but nobody ever talks about the roads.
A system needs to
Every
put
year,
in,
consistently, they flood in our area.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
drive
Our
around
roads
in
flood out
Freeport every
a lot
year.
more often than what he's talking about Manfred's flood.
and to get the main push through, we need to keep the water from topping the roads, correct?
The water tops
But-
the roads literally every year
It does.
by
But
Marvin Koenig.
Once the water is going down and not topping the roads, there could be some restrictions put on in the levels monitored.
Or I said Marvin Koenig's, Wayne Hildebrandt's, Ronnie McBain's road. The water goes
Not
over
every
there.
year.
Not 8 out of 10. I mean, obviously it didn't go over this spring.
It's a lake back there. I mean, everybody knows it's a big lake back there in the spring.
But that goes back to Dale. In order to do that, you gotta have a special assessment vote, or not a special, you gotta have a reassessment vote on that. And that's where all the cost comes. Do you want us to go out and spend hundreds of thousands to do that?
You're spending hundreds of thousands to open this thing up. Can't we just find a halfway to where some have to take a little more for a little bit for some and make this thing a workable thing?
But
Dale,
does it have
can
to
you
come-
agree that those 336-inch pipes haven't changed?
On which, on the,
18th Street.
yes, I agree there.
Okay. It doesn't really matter, because that's our control point now. Does it matter? Does it matter?
You're
size of the
saying it's
culverts
gonna
after
be your
that.
control point, but there,
It is now.
well, it's 3 wide open culverts.
Yeah.
But
So-
it
It always has been.
Yeah. So, is there any measure, as Brian was saying, to where there can be some gates or something to limit a little bit, if need be?
Go back and read your letter. That was all explained to you, Dale. We can't do that without redoing the project. And you know how many people are going to vote for that, Dale?
They probably aren't because they're high and dry.
Okay, so what do we do?
Well,
So the
what
guys
should have
that
been done in
drained,
the very start.
the guys that drained without permission, where do we deal with that?
We've been down that.
I know, I'm just saying, though, what
Well,
I'm saying is, you gotta say,
obviously-
he's got a big thing that he's gotta go through to do this. Did you do due diligence to the guy that drained illegally? Did you go back and tell him he couldn't?
We can't do anything until
I'm sorry. I don't
until
understand.
somebody files a complaint.
So you're hiding behind the law.
You gotta enforce
It's
the law.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, Brian.
Yeah.
You're not hiding behind the law, you're enforcing.
We gotta follow the law, for
I
Pete's sake.
understand that, but the law was set up so you could have that protection. It doesn't take long to figure out how this works. And like I said, I'm not on anybody's side here, but I'm sitting here listening to all this stuff. And it looks like you guys got all the cards and you know how to play them. And that's fine. But,
Brian, you're talking in semantics now. What does that mean? You have all the cards.
well, they've got the lawyers all behind them, they got all this stuff lined up, but they're not addressing anything that's coming extra into that drain that was never designed for that much water. That's my point.
Not water.
You got, I'm done. I just wanted to make sure that we can see what's going on. Sorry.
You know what, water's always been an emotional thing, and these guys are doing the best they can, and you've got a good point. You guys gotta figure out how to work together on this.
Within the confines of the regulations.
And rules and laws are rules and laws, and you can't
It
just.
pretty much isn't any work, and when we're told, no, we can do what we want, we don't have to.
No.
Therefore, you
Therein
obey.
lies probably the real point of all this, is some level of public relations and working with the patrons who live on this land and so on. And to me, that probably is arguably what's missing. Would you agree?
Yes.
Okay. And we're all neighbors with one another, for heaven's sakes.
And I think gotta go back, I think it's gotta go back to like Stan said, you just gotta go civilly to a water board meeting and discuss this stuff. And possibly, I heard the comment, maybe they're looking at some gates or whatever.
That's what we've been hoping and asking for, it's just a little bit.
Go to their meeting.
Go to the meeting on the agenda and, go as a commission or as a group of supervisors, and I think that would, hopefully there'll be some merit for that. Okay, thanks for coming in, appreciate it. County culvert policy maybe isn't good timing for this, is it?
Well, it's probably is a good time for it.
Along the same line, you have in your packet of papers our culvert policy, which we think we should review every once in a while, this being the time.
2014 was the last.
2014 was the last time, which none of us, well, maybe wait, Doc, you were on the board. You weren't even on that?
I can't remember yesterday.
There's two.
He was on the board, but the rest of us were not.
Say, Stan, there's two different policies.
There was some type of amendment that was discussed in June of 19, I do believe, correct?
That was a different one. This is just strictly for the water.
Oh, okay.
ones, But that's a different policy.
You're looking at the county policy with the townships,
Yes,
which we have nothing to do with.
right. This says, you're off the hook here.
Okay,
Different topic.
okay.
All right? Relax.
Can we do the water board one first, and then we can,
We weren't.
some
even
of us
gonna-
gotta get
we're
going with
gonna-
combining.
We don't even have that one.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah?
I
Do we?
wanted it to.
You give it to us?
Is that what you had it on here?
You just had that out now? That wasn't on the agenda. I don't know if we can address that. That's passing the buck, but,
Okay, that's fine by me, I'll go home.
well, do you want us to?
We need it to pay
It's
some
not on the
bills.
agenda.
Yeah, that's true.
We can amend the agenda.
Okay, we'll just quick talk about it, and then you guys can figure out whatever you're gonna do after that.
Okay, sure.
Okay. In your packet, you have the one that pertains to the water board.
Oh, yeah, I got it right in front of me here. Yes, okay, go ahead.
Okay, this is all taken out of Century Code. And the reason we started this process back in, I believe it was 2019, because there needed to be a defined agreement between the commissioners and us. Basically, this states, just skip down to paragraph 4. If you want to read all the rest of that, that's fine. And in essence of time, the district always pays 60% of the cost, and the county pays 40% in an assessed drains only.
Correct.
That's the only thing that we deal with, is just strictly assessed drains. So, and that's what the Century Code says. And actually, Brent, a lot of times when we go to replace culverts, he's the one that goes and measures them. Sometimes I'm available to go help him, but he's always the one that he sees what they're like. And
Correct.
He's
unfortunately,
an inspector.
yeah, unfortunately, we're gonna have a lot more to come in the next 5 years. You know, we went through that with you guys here in '22, kind of gave you an idea of what we had to replace over the next few years. A lot of that has been done, but now there's gonna be more added on, because now we discovered we had a culvert that, a 24-inch pipe, luckily it's small, the last 4 foot of the end just rusted off and the gate fell off in the ditch. So, but anyway, we'll try and get another kind of a schedule of culverts for you, for kind of a 3-year plan, hopefully. I guess what we're looking for is you guys to approve this, so that obviously we can pay the bills. And then what we're going to do is, we talked about this at our special meeting the other morning, have a kind of a notification thing to send to the county auditor, and then also to the townships, you know, when we're doing these different projects, or, you know, replacement projects.
Okay.
So, any questions?
Well, do we have to approve this again? I mean,
Well, you guys never signed off on it.
Really?
Yeah.
So we've been doing this for this many years, but have never really formally.
It was supposed to go to the, something to do with the former state's attorney was supposed to look at it or something, and
4 years later, it's still not done.
yeah.
5.
There's probably more.
So do we need to have a lawyer look at this so we don't sign something we shouldn't? I'm just asking a simple question just for communication purposes.
We've been using it for the last 5 years. We just as well.
Everybody wants to cross the T's and dot the
Well,
I's.
have Oliver look at it.
I didn't want to cause a
I know,
problem.
but why, I mean, we got a state's attorney now that'll probably look at it and give us an idea anyway.
Mhm.
And he'll give us an answer within a
And
week,
it's
not,
in the century
4
code,
years.
if you want to go
Yeah.
read it, it's
Well,
all
that's the
there.
thing, it's in the century code. What do we have to say about it?
Not much.
I don't think we can do anything.
right. I understand that, but I mean, if,
I think we could approve this if we wanted to here.
Is that a motion?
I would not do that today.
Really?
I just would not.
You need to have it on your agenda.
It's been in your hands for 7 minutes. I mean, really?
Right.
Yeah.
But
You
not-
have
And
a-
we're on the edge of,
that's gotta be on the
it's part of
agenda.
the
So you were-
agenda item, but.
You had me on the agenda just for the county stuff, for culverts?
This, okay, this deal here, and it's soon to be 11 years old, and Dennis mentioned it, and that's the first thing that I noticed, is there's not a single acting commissioner in Wells County that was part of this agreement. I think you do need to address these things from time to time and see if that's what you want, and I've probably read this thing 14 times, and I still don't understand it.
And Dan,
But that's not what you're talking about here. That's the county.
But this is what I want to talk about, because I'm sitting here holding a bunch of bills that haven't been paid yet, and it's as if this group of 5 people who are supposed to be in charge of the county's finances have no say in bills that keep getting dropped on their desk.
These were actually all approved.
We pay True North Steel more frequently than any other bill that we have. I mean, we're ordering culverts left and right, and the bills keep showing up, and they're good at it, man. They send them every 5 minutes. They can.
Yes, they do.
Larry, yeah, we'll have Oliver look at this. I'm sure it'll be fine, but at this point, we won't make a motion to approve
There's
it just
really much you
because
can change on it in the century code.
there isn't.
essentially, I mean,
And all of these culverts here, were pre-approved sites that you guys approved. Some of them are like the ones up by your place were last year, I believe, or last winter
them
sometime.
330 down by the pasture
Yep.
Which I think he's putting in today.
But
there. Or
anyway,
he's working
so,
on the one out here with the tractor.
Yep, good one.
So, and therein lies another issue, I guess, and Tammy and you and I have had this conversation. It's no different than a FEMA disaster. Okay, a FEMA disaster that took place in 2020, and so this is approved. What does it cost? In 2020, it costed this. When you finally get around to doing this project in 2024 or 2025, what does it cost now? And now who's gonna pay that